This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking District 5 and 6 athletics week in, week out in the state of Idaho. Brandon Baney here with our East Idaho expert, Sean Kane. Yo, what's up, Sean?
Just a rainy day, but, I made it back from Las Vegas in one piece and experienced a concert with, 60, 70,000 of my closest friends, and it was a good time. So my big concert days, I think, are over. I'm announcing it right now today, live announcement, retiring from, probably 60,000 plus concerts, people wise attendance right now. I'm saying it right now, but you never know.
You're you'll still go to the occasional show at the Portneuf Wellness Complex, maybe in Pocatello, but not necessarily Vegas.
Yeah, we're already looking at Blink 182 tickets for this summer. They go on sale. Actually, we have the code to get them early, but we're looking. It's at I call it the Delta Center. I don't know what it's called now, but where the Utah Jazz play. So there's like seats. Like I'm all about the seat now at my old age.
I hear you. So yeah, Sean, after we recorded the Prepcast last week, took off to Vegas on a road trip and went to the Blink 182 concert down there. I'm glad you came back in one piece. So
yeah, I still have a voice. It's good. It's good. It got me thinking, I always have my kind of thought of the day kind of thing, but Blink 182 does the song One More Time, and it's about how, you shouldn't wait for something to get back together. You don't always have one more time, like someone could pass away or a sickness or a plane crash. And I kind of thought about that's kind of the athletes right now. A lot of these athletes, they're not going to have a one more time. We've got state competitions coming up in a lot of sports, and they're, some coaches too. You don't have one more time. You have this time. So there's not one more time for some of the athletes. And I thought that was pretty deep and kind of meaningful, that you can't, don't wait to say, what you should have said or any of your goodbyes. Don't wait until tomorrow.
Pretty poignant for this time of year, for sure. So, yes, you mentioned it, Sean. State competition heating up. We had state soccer last weekend. Let's recap quickly what happened for East Idaho. The answer is not much in terms of championships, but lots of great, outstanding performances still. On the 5A girls side, the Highland girls got all the way to the consolation final, where they fell to Mountain View 1-0. So Highland comes home sixth place, basically, from the 5A girls state tournament. On the boys side, you had Thunder Ridge, who was the number one seed, Sean. Thunder Ridge came into the 5A boys tournament, number one seed, 2-0. They lose to Eagle, the 8 seed, 1-0. They lose to Lake City in a loser out contest, 3-0. I was pretty surprised by that.
Yeah, I think it came from that Eagle match. I had a chance to watch most of that game, and it was just as tight as can be. And that's soccer, right? Maybe if Thunder Ridge comes out of that game, they go on. But, unfortunately, that wasn't a case. I think soccer is one of those games where it's real hard to come back that next day if you're not on the winning side of the bracket. Not that it's easy for any sport. I just think it's really hard for soccer because your margins are so slim.
Yeah, it is. It is a finite. Yeah, one slip up and everything could be by the wayside. So on the 4A side, Sean, 4A girls, Pocatello came in as the number one seed. We had a fun little Twitter thread going between you and Joel Richardson, who's a broadcaster for us, and myself and Christian Wiener. We all Christian and I did the state soccer preview show last week, and I got a little crazy with my upset special. I picked Canyon Ridge to beat Pocatello. That didn't happen. Thunder won 5-0. Joel said if Pocatello had lost, he would have bought me dinner. And then I think I still got dinner anyways. He said he would treat me anyways the next time I was in town. So it doesn't matter what I do. I came out a winner. So
I think he knows that the chances of you being here are slim, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Might be a while before I get back to Pocatello. But the Thunder then lose to eventual champion Sandpoint in the semis 2-1. But they do get into the third place match and they do beat Twin Falls there pretty easily, 5-1. So congratulations to the Pocatello girls for taking third. And then on the other side of the bracket, Sean, we had the Emotion Bowl soccer edition for the consolation final, Skyline and Idaho Falls. And they're like, oh, yeah. Hey, good to see you for the 20th time this year. Idaho Falls won over Skyline 1-0. So Idaho Falls comes home with a trophy as well.
Yeah, and Idaho Falls was kind of that semi dark horse team, right? That came out of districts and then, got all the way there to only play their own district opponent. But, that's still a good run, I think, for the Idaho Falls girls team.
Yeah. And then the 4A boys tournament, we had Century, Blackfoot, and Idaho Falls all representing East Idaho. Blackfoot gets the deepest run here, Sean. They were the number 7 seed. They beat Canyon Ridge in the first round on penalty kicks, 4-2. It was 0-0 up until the PKs. And then Blackfoot really pushed Sandpoint in the semifinals before falling 3-2. And then I think Blackfoot had kind of run out of steam. They lose to Bishop Kelly 6-0 to take 4th place. But what a great run from the Broncos and Coach Liam Pope.
Yeah, Liam Pope's, he's got to be in the top. If there was a top list of coaches, right? He does baseball, he does soccer. He's a great guy to talk to. He's got good insight. And you can't ever, anytime I think he's coaching a team, I don't know if you really can count him out when they're at state. He knows how to get the most out of his players when it comes to state.
Yeah, so great run for Blackfoot. Century goes 2-out. They lose to Bishop Kelly, and then they lose to Idaho Falls 2-1. And then Idaho Falls finishes it off with a 2-1 win over Canyon Ridge in the consolation final. So the Idaho boys and girls both bring home the consolation trophies, which is what color again? Black? Are those the black ones?
I guess
green.
Does the 4th place team get a trophy?
No, 4th place does not. Whoever loses,
okay, so
doesn't.
It'd be black, I believe. Then,
yeah, that's what I can never keep the colors in my head correctly. I just know blue is for the champion, and everything else that I'm not sure. So, way to go, Idaho.
Blue, red, green, black.
Okay, well, there we go. We should come up with some like an acronym or something to help us remember that. Like the colors of the rainbow. Roy G. Biv.
Everyone just wants blue. I mean, that's really got to remember.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Roy G. Biv? The colors of the rainbow? Red, orange, yellow, indigo.
Is that a song?
It's not a song. It's just a way to remember the colors.
Oh, okay. No, you've got me. I've learned something.
Red, orange, yellow, green.
Yeah, I'm
blue, indigo, violet. Roy G. Biv.
Wow.
Look at me dropping knowledge. Yeah.
Wow. And since I'm normally color, I should know, right?
Oh, yeah, you're normally color commentator. That's funny. Okay. 3A tournament, where this is really going off the rails here. I'm talking about the colors in the rainbow. Okay, 3A girls. We had Marsh Valley come in as the 3 seed. They won their first matchup against Fruitland. They lose to Kimberly in the semis 4-1, but they do bounce back to take 3rd place. They beat Coeur d'Alene Charter 2-1. So way to go, Marsh Valley Eagles, bringing home the 3rd place trophy.
Yeah, that's just, I think Marsh Valley was a tough team. I talked to teams that played them, upper divisions, and they said Marsh Valley was going to do well. And sure enough, they went and proved just that at the state tournament.
Yeah. American Falls, also from District 5 on the boys' side, kind of a similar journey here. They beat Bonners Ferry in the opening round on penalty kicks 4-3. They fall to Sun Valley Community School in the semis 2-0, but they rebound to beat McCall Donnelly in the 3rd place match, also on penalty kicks 5-4. So American Falls boys bringing home that 3rd place trophy. Way to go.
Yeah, just all 3, East Idaho boys teams placed. So pretty phenomenal job there.
Yes. And then of course the big story from the weekend in girls soccer and boys soccer was Sugar-Salem. And we saved the best for last here. The Sugar-Salem boys, I believe the boys played first, or maybe it was the girls played first. I can't remember the order now. I think the boys played at 10 a.m. on Saturday. They beat Sun Valley Community School 2-1 in a really tight matchup. And then their head coach, Scott Terry, didn't have much time to reflect on it because not only is he the head coach of the Sugar Boys, he's also the head coach of the Sugar Girls. He had to turn around right away at 12:30, and he coached the Sugar-Salem girls to a championship win over Kimberly 1-0 in a very tight game. So 2 championships for Sugar-Salem in the same day with the same coach leading the team, Scott Terry. Way to go.
Yeah, Scott Terry's a great guy. He also coaches their tennis team at Sugar-Salem. So I've gotten to know him pretty well over the years. He always reaches out and wants to get a match together. And man, he's a go-getter. Like, I can only imagine on the soccer field how well he's got those teams running because he just does a phenomenal job. But yeah, we talked about Sugar-Salem being both boys and girls being good, and sure enough, they went out and did it. But man, I can't imagine what his stomach would have felt like. You got one done, and you're like, ooh, and back. I can't semi imagine, but that's a lot of emotions in one day for anyone, I think. But at least it ended up in both the good side of those emotions.
If you want to know how it felt, we have an article about it on IdahoSports.com. Twice as nice. Jason Chatraw, one of our writers, chronicled Scott Terry's day and how he kind of talked to him really quickly between matches. Here's what he said. Three-peating with the boys team is fantastic, and I'm so happy about that, but there's still a hole in my heart that the girls have not won it yet. This is the 4th time we've qualified for the final, and we really want to push through it and fill that hole in our hearts. Fast forward like 3 hours later, hole filled. No doubt about it. It's a really great article. It's on the homepage, IdahoSports.com. You should go check it out there. It was a really cool story. And I believe Idaho history. I don't think a coach has ever won 2 championships in soccer in the same day. I could be wrong, but
yeah, not that I know of, but yeah, phenomenal task. And I understand that, filling that, other side. Cause I, as a tennis coach, I coach boys and girls, and the one you don't have is always kind of the one you want the most. And it was pretty apparent. And congrats to Scott and those 2 championships.
yeah, for sure. All right. So that's state soccer. State volleyball is coming up this weekend up in North Idaho at various locations. We have a special standalone state volleyball tournament preview special. It's on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel. It's also in this podcast feed on the East Idaho Prepcast. But Lindsay Togiai Afuk and myself went through all the brackets, 5A through 1A D2, and broke down the brackets. We gave players to watch. We picked a dark horse team in every bracket. We made our championship predictions. So if you want good volleyball content, that's where you'll find it. Just quickly, I would say stories from East Idaho this week are Madison trying to repeat as the 5A champions, Bonneville coming in as the number 1 seed in 4A girls. Can they topple Skyview and finally get it done? I would say the big story in 3A is Snake River. They were the number 1 ranked team all year long in the polls, but they dropped to number 2 in the actual Max Preps bracketing. At 2A, the big story is going to be, I think, Malad. Can they break through? 1A D1, Grace, after what a thrilling set to win over Butte County. We'll talk about that more in just a second. And then 1A D2, Rockland and Mackey play each other in the first round, but the story is Grace Lutheran. Can they continue this undefeated season and top it off with a championship? So,
yeah, I would agree. Yeah, just Grace Lutheran 21-0, and I found it interesting that Rockland and Mackey have to play again in the first round, so their 4th time playing. Another kind of neat note, Pocatello Thunder, it's the first time their girls volleyball team has made it to state in 30 years. So pretty impressive, to finally fill that hole for the Thunder as they go go up to play Skyline, which they had played before. Pokey's lost to him 2-0, so it must have been a tournament, right? So Pokey and Skyline have played, but kind of neighbors here in East Idaho play first round. But congrats to the Thunder for making it after 30 years.
Yes, and I could be wrong. I believe they met in a tournament, and then they also met in a regular season match on the schedule. I think they split this year.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that, but just off the top of my head, that's how I'm remembering it. But yes, Pocatello breaking a 30-year drought, which is incredible. And then the story of the year in volleyball, I think, and a story they're going to be talking about at Grace for a really long time, Sean, is what happened last week in the district tournament where Grace had lost to Butte County in the undefeated semifinal on Tuesday night. So last Thursday, Grace this was all taking place at Thunder Ridge High School. Grace they start Thursday night around 6:00 by beating Chalice 3-0 in a loser out game. So with that, they moved to the district championship against Butte County. But since they had already lost to Butte County once, they needed to not only beat Butte County, but beat them twice. First match goes all 5 sets. Grace wins 3-2. That sets up the do or die winner take all district final. It again goes 5 sets. Grace again pulls it out 3-2. 13 sets over 3 matches, all in the span of about 6 hours. It started at 6:00, didn't get over until a little bit after midnight. And there's nobody that can say Grace didn't earn their way to state. What a night for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I was checking out tweets, and a fan or a parent said it's Grace Butte 5th game, and it's 11:30. So the 5th game of that second matchup started at 11:30, and wow, yeah, and it was a lot of like two of the best teams, and unfortunately one isn't going to make it, was kind of the discussion too, which I kind of agree with. That's a tough break, but man, playing till midnight, I guess they didn't turn into a pumpkin.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I saw a picture online of during timeouts, the girls on the bench for Grace were taking the towels and sticking them in the ice bucket, and then they were coming over and putting the cold towels on the players during timeouts and stuff. And that is a marathon, 13 sets in 6 hours. That is, and none of them. It's not like a tournament. Yeah, it's not like a tournament where you're kind of engaged, but you're also relaxed. These are like do or die, full pressure. If you
every
lose, you
point,
go home.
yeah, every point, right?
Yeah.
The scores are close. There's no like 25-10. They're all like anyone can win, and that momentum swing and all that. Just it's crazy, but man, yeah, you can't say Grace didn't earn it.
Yeah. What a night for Grace. And now good luck to the number 2 seed. Troy, of course, the overwhelming favorite at the 1A D1 state tournament, but it would be fun to see Grace get there and compete. And I want to give a special shout out again to Salmon. The Salmon girls just missed out on state. We talked about what a great season they had. They lost to Firth in a tight district championship. They then lost to Bear Lake in a tight state play-in match. But still, Salmon's got nothing to be ashamed of. They had a great season, and it was really fun to watch them compete throughout the year, even though they didn't make it to state.
No, just a good job for the program. Another interesting thing I saw on that 2A level is now Malad and Bear Lake play in the first round again, right? So it's like their 5th meeting of the season at state.
Yep. So, all right, let's talk now about state. We should mention real quick too, state volleyball is happening, of course, up north, but state cross country is also happening, Sean, in East Idaho. The Portneuf Wellness Complex in Pocatello will host state cross country 5A all the way down to 1A. It's going to be a big weekend of running in Pocatello. What's the weather supposed to be like?
If you notice, if you're watching this on our YouTube or posted on Facebook later, I'm wearing a vest and it's not warm. It looked to be maybe in the 50s, 40. It's going to be cold. What don't they start early? Because if they're doing them all, someone's going to start early in the morning, right? So it's going to be chilly. I think your warm up will be key. Just talking to runners, they say they do the best when they have their best warm up. So the cross country, teams, however they warm up or whatever they need to do warm up, they literally will have to warm up to be ready, I think, for that competition.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. Marlo Herford is going to have a state cross country preview and recap for us on the website, written article. So stay tuned for that on IdahoSports.com. All right, let's get into state football. Sean, the first round of the playoffs are upon us. And so what we'll do here is, if you're watching on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page, I will share my screen. We'll put the brackets up on the screen, and you can follow along that way. If you're listening to this podcast at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, it's all good. We've got all the brackets right on the homepage at IdahoSports.com as well. We'll just start at the top and work our way down. Sean, here is the 5A state bracket. Highland gets a bye in the first round for winning the District 5-6 title this year, and Highland has home field advantage throughout the playoffs, which is a nice setup for the Rams. Meanwhile, Rigby is the other team that qualifies. They took second place. No problems with Madison last week. Holy smokes. They took it to them. And so now Rigby hosts Middleton in their first round playoff matchup. I really like Rigby in this one. I think Rigby is peaking at the right time and are a very dangerous team here in the playoffs.
Yeah, here's the deal. Like, I don't like to look past, matchups, but man, that Rigby Eagle possibility in the second round seems like could be the game of the year to me. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't, I know we're looking at, but man, when I look at this bracket, I see that Rigby and Eagle could play in that second round, and I think, man, what a amazing matchup there. But I think Rigby too is peaking at the right time. But I don't think Middleton's any slouch. Middleton's done well in their transition to the 5A level, but you got to like Rigby.
Yep, I like Rigby a lot there. And yeah, I don't want to peek too far down the bracket, but oh man, if we could get Highland Rigby the rematch, there's a lot of hurdles each side's got to clear, but that would be so epic. I will say, in terms of who Highland is going to play, they'll play the winner of Boise and Owyhee. I don't know. And honestly, I don't think it matters. They're both pretty average teams in my view. They played once in the regular season, Sean. Boise won 10-7. So
I mean, if I was still in Vegas and I could bet on this, I would be betting on a Meridian Highland semifinal with a large amount of money.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute any of that. So that's the 5A bracket. That, by the way, that Rigby Middleton game, Friday night, 7:00 on IdahoSports.com. One of 17 first round playoff games we will be bringing you across the state of Idaho here on the opening weekend. Let's go to the 4A bracket, Sean, where let's just start with the top seeds and we'll move down. Hillcrest is the number 1 overall seed. They were undefeated. They will play the number 16 seed Canyon Ridge. I think Hillcrest was fine anyways, but then the news that Canyon Ridge's all-conference quarterback Connor Willis broke his collarbone last week is out. That really makes it tilt even more to Hillcrest's side, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'll grab into my bag of Brandon Baney-isms and say, chalk that one up. We'll go to the chalk.
Yep. And then right below Hillcrest in the 8 versus 9 matchup, Shelley comes in as the 9 seed. They took third place in the High Country Conference. They will travel to Skyview. So this is another one. I really like Shelley going on the road. Shelley, their game plan, the run and russets, I like to call them. They just love to line up and run the rock to keep opposing offenses off the field. And Skyview's got a pretty good offense led by 6'8" quarterback Cash Buse, who transferred from Melba in the offseason. But Skyview's defense has also been a little leaky this year. So I think if Shelley can run the ball, control the clock, I like the russets on the road.
Yeah, this is I was waiting to see where Shelley was going to end up on this bracket, and I like Shelley too. And I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of intel on Skyview, but man, if you look at the team Shelley's played and how low they've kept the scores with their defense and the running game, they're the team you don't want to play first round, because I think you're going to have to come up with something special to beat them.
Yeah, definitely so. Let's keep moving down the bracket here, Sean, where we have some really interesting matchups here. We have a doubleheader inside Holt Arena on Friday night in Pocatello. Both games on IdahoSports.com. The first game is at 5:30, and it is a rematch of the Emotion Bowl. Number 12, Idaho Falls. Number 5, Skyline. This was the game you were on the call for the first Emotion Bowl this year. Skyline won in a very tight 1-score game. How do you think the rematch goes?
Oh man, here's the deal. Like, Skyline, their whatever bat phone or red phone they have to pick up to get that game at the Holt Arena, they always play at the Holt Arena, and they always do so well. It's hard to go against Skyline in the Holt Arena. But if I'm District 6, I'm thinking, what's with this max preps? Because all throughout all these state competitions, they end up playing soccer, football. But I mean, that's another point. But again, Idaho Falls is that, the team I think is really good too. Led by Bradley Ellison at quarterback. They call him Sunshine. That's his nickname, I guess. I don't know if he knows the reference of it from Remember the Titans, but that's what their coaches were telling me. They call him Sunshine. And man, I think it's going to be a good game. I just think it's really hard to bet against a Skyline team in the dome playoffs. It's just man, super hard. But we'll have to see. But I like Skyline just because it's at the Holt and they know how to win there.
Yes, the second game of the doubleheader Friday night at 8:15, another rematch. It's number 14 Preston and number 3 Pocatello. These are the two teams that made the playoffs from District 5. They got to play each other right away, Sean. Pocatello won pretty handily in the regular season. I just don't see an avenue where Preston can get the win here.
Preston, has Winder at running back. He punts. He does everything. It's just, I just don't think he's enough to take down that potent Thunder offense. It'll just be very difficult, but, hard matchup for them. But, congrats from Preston, to making to the playoffs after, not winning very many games the last few seasons. And the program's kind of turned around. So, they've got a lot of things to look forward to, just not probably the rematch of a district opponent.
Yep. And then the final game in the first round, Bonneville, the number 11 seed, they took 4th place from District 6. They will travel to number 6 seed Sandpoint. This is a tough one. Bonneville, what they really like to do is run the ball. That would be their strength. Well, Sandpoint's strength is stopping the run. So I guess we'll find out which strength outdoes the other.
Yeah, I would love to look up the record of the teams that have to go to Sandpoint from East Idaho. I feel like it's just always a tough task. The weather's probably already changed there. You have to travel maybe 2 days, 1 day, depending on how you do it. So yeah, I think it's going to be really tough. But Bonneville's had a lot of just they've been able to come back from the injury. They've done a lot of good things. So I think it's a tighter game than the seeds would make you think.
Yeah, for sure. So broadcast schedule, IdahoSports.com. We'll have that doubleheader for you inside Holt Arena. So Idaho Falls Skyline at 5:30 on Friday, then Preston and Pocatello at 8:15. We will also be bringing you Shelley at Skyview on IdahoSports.com Friday night at 7 o'clock, and also Bonneville at Sandpoint Friday night at 7 o'clock on IdahoSports.com. So lots of good East Idaho games on the broadcast schedule this weekend for the opening round of the playoffs. All right, Sean, 3A postseason bracket. Here we go. Sugar-Salem, your number 1 overall seed. They get the first round bye. We've got the District 5 champion Snake River, number 4 seed overall. They will play number 13 seed Wood River. Wood River's kind of this plucky upstart team. They're a 4A school playing in 3A football because they have low numbers, low turnout. Second year in a row, they've made the playoffs. They've had a lot of late come from behind type of victories. I like Snake River in this game, but I do think the one weapon for Wood River is a kid named Conrad Foster. He was just part of the boys soccer team at Wood River that won the 4A state championship, and he's got a really good leg as a kicker, and he's won a couple of games for Wood River this year because of his kicking. So that could be something that tilts in their favor, but I do like Snake River here at home.
Yeah, I gotta go Snake River at home. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna agree with you. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I kind of have like that, when you see Wood River down in the 3A, you kind of get that like, and it's no bias. Other people do too, but you know what I mean. But I like Snake River. They've had a good season, so I'm going with you with Snake River.
Okay. The other teams from East Idaho that made the playoffs, we see down here the number 10 seed from Marsh Valley. Marsh Valley beat American Falls for second place in the district last Friday, 1-score game. I picked American Falls to win that game in our Idaho Sports Pick 6. Every week, the Prepcasters on IdahoSports.com on social media, we pick 6 games from across the state, one for each classification. And then we tabulate how everybody's doing throughout the season. I think everybody picked American Falls to win except Logan Green. He picked Marsh Valley. And so, way to go, Eagles. Your reward is the number 10 seed and a trip to number 7 seed Weiser. Meanwhile, American Falls slips to number 12. They get to travel to number 5 Timberlake all the way up north in Idaho on Saturday at 1 p.m. Now, neither one of these games is like, they're both tough games, but I think American Falls actually got the somewhat easier matchup. I would rather play Timberlake than Weiser, I think.
That's what I was they're kind of like the NCAA bracket, right? When you have a 5 and a 12 and a 7 and a 10, and the percentage is like 50% each team, like 53, like it's kind of tough like that. But yeah, I was kind of thinking that too, that for American Falls to lose that game, they didn't end up terrible, right? I feel like could have been really bad. So I think they'll have a good chance. I kind of think Marsh Valley will have a hard time with Weiser, but that's just kind of my intuition there.
Yeah. So the reason why Timberlake is higher than Weiser, even though Weiser is ranked higher than Timberlake, is because Timberlake won their district, and the district champions for this first round anyways get the top 5 seeds automatically. So good luck to both of those District 5 clubs. And then we've got Teton sitting there at the number 6 seed, Sean. They are hosting number 11 Fruitland on Thursday night, one of the Thursday night games we have going on, 6 o'clock in Driggs on IdahoSports.com. I like Teton here, and I like Teton by a fair amount, I'll say. Fruitland had 2 wins this year. Really struggled against upper echelon teams, and we know that Teton offense is so good.
Yeah, Jack Nelson as quarterback for Teton. He's having a phenomenal season. They're 8-1. Who did they lose to? Well, the number 1 seed, Sugar-Salem, right? And we know how good Sugar-Salem is this year. And I mean, I think any team's going to have a hard time knocking them off when it comes down to it. But Teton is a good number 6 seed, I think, by far.
And if Teton wins that game, they'll jump up to the number 3 seed next week, because the district champions don't get the top 5 seeds beyond the first round. So Teton could have another home playoff game should they win. So we'll keep an eye on that. 3A games on IdahoSports.com involving East Idaho teams, all of them except Snake River. So we're gonna have Fruitland at Teton Thursday night, 6 o'clock on IdahoSports.com. We're going to have Marsh Valley at Weiser Friday night at 7 o'clock on IdahoSports.com. And we will have American Falls at Timberlake on Saturday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's 2 o'clock Mountain time on Saturday, all on IdahoSports.com. That American Falls Timberlake game is the only Saturday game taking place here on the opening weekend, Sean. So Ryan Skaggs and I are on the broadcast. We'll have that exclusive window, big noon kickoff on Fox.
We have lots of graphics like robots throwing footballs and stuff, because that's what I'll be looking for.
Yeah, it wasn't quite in the budget this year, but it should be a fun one anyways. So that's all the 3A. All right, let's go to the 2A bracket, Sean. West Side wins District 5. They get a first round bye. North Fremont wins District 6. They get a first round bye. Otherwise, East Idaho sent the maximum allotment of teams. Each league could send 2 additional teams, and we see Firth, actually almost the max amount of teams. Ryrie was the first team out of the playoffs. Sorry, Ryrie, didn't mean to open that old wound. Firth made it from District 6, and both Bear Lake and Aberdeen qualified from District 5. For the record, Malad, on the strength of their Max Preps record, should have been in, but because the district could only send 2, Malad's the odd team out. We feel real bad for the Dragons, and that's a bummer of a way to go. But for the teams that are in, Sean, we have Firth at Aberdeen Friday night, 7:00. IdahoSports.com. This is the game that you'll be at on the call for. And then we also have Wendell at Bear Lake, in what should be an interesting game Friday at 7:00 as well. Let's talk about this Firth Aberdeen game first. What are your inclinations ahead of the contest?
Well, you've got Aberdeen, who upset Melba last year and then goes to lose in the semifinals to Firth, and now they're playing in the first round. You've got 2 coaches that have kind of turned programs into staples at state now, and man, I just see it being kind of close, but I think it's a really good first round matchup. I'm leaning a little towards Aberdeen just because of how their season went this year, but man, it's going to be 2 really good teams going against each other out there in Aberdeen with me there. I just was looking at it. It's hard to pick one far and away right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It's a really even matchup. I will say both these teams are significantly different from last year's teams that met in the semifinals. Firth has a new quarterback this year in Daryl Vasquez, who's more of a scrambler. Firth definitely likes to run the ball more with Bo Ringle and Vasquez at quarterback. They've got a couple of big play options. Chase Shook, the tight end, is the guy they look to a lot in the passing game, but they're just not able to hit those home runs like they were last year. Anything that Firth manufactures on offense comes from a lengthy, sustained drive. And they really do make the most out of their possessions. They just don't get a ton every game. That's why a lot of their scores have been lower. Aberdeen's the exact same, though. They've been playing with Lupe Ortiz at quarterback all year. Coming into the season, they were expecting Lupe to help out at some other positions like receiver and running back. And instead, he's been playing quarterback because of the injury to Gage Driscoll. But they've still got Nick Medell, who was kind of the fullback on last year's team. He runs the ball really well. Both these teams play outstanding defense, Sean, so you could be in for a low-scoring game. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you kind of see that in their scores. Like, they've had some low scorers. They've had some ones they put away. So, yeah, and Lupe Ortiz, only a sophomore coming in, and he's done a really good job. So, it's always interesting to see a sophomore in that kind of running the ball in that quarterback position and kind of leading the team. So, it'll be a good game, I think. So, I'm excited.
It'll be interesting for sure. And then we've got Bear Lake hosting Wendell in the opening round. I'll be honest, I've been very impressed with Wendell this year. Bear Lake is starting to find their stride a little more. They are the defending 2A state champs, but
different team.
Yeah. Bear Lake fans are going to hate me for this. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back and own it. I like Wendell on the road. I don't know. Something in my gut, Sean, tells me Wendell.
Yeah, and I was looking at Bear Lake, and we know they won last year. It's pretty much a different team than last year. You lost a lot of those big weapons, but they've kind of found their way to win. Their last game, they got a 32-6 win over West Jefferson. Started to play a little, or not West Jefferson, sorry, that was Firth, but Bear Lake is just kind of played a little better as the season went over. So excuse me on that score. I was thinking of another team. I'm still thinking about this Firth Aberdeen game, dang it. But yeah, I'm gonna go Bear Lake. But I think it's a tough matchup, and I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Wendell.
Yeah, so Wendell's got a really good running back, Jesse Chavez. He'll rush for between 150 and 200 yards per game. It seems like they really like to run the ball. They play strong defense. Wendell, of course, Bear Lake has all these great receivers, Bryson Crane and Toby Flake, and Rhett Lloyd moving from receiver to quarterback, I think has finally gotten comfortable, throwing the ball. And the big thing for Bear Lake early on in the season was they were missing some key offensive linemen, and I think some of those guys have come back. So Bear Lake is definitely kind of coalescing at the right time, but we'll see. I think that's going to be the most exciting first-round game, Wendell at Bear Lake in this 2A bracket, but we'll have to wait and see.
I disagree. I think the one I'm at will be, but But it kind of in looking at Bear Lake, it kind of comes down, I think, to possessions too. If they get enough possessions to score right, because they throw the ball, and if they go 3 and out too many times, I think that's where they could kind of find some problems if Wendell's able to control the clock with that running game.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point too. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Honestly, any of the three. I think Marcin and Melba also. I know this is an East Idaho Prepcast, but Marcin and Melba also is a really spicy first round matchup. Marcin led that game in the fourth quarter this year before Melba rallied late when they played in the regular season. So we will wait and see. 1A D1 bracket, Sean. Butte County beat Grace last week to win the High Desert Conference. So Butte County gets a first round bye. Grace, meanwhile, hosts Cary Friday night, 6 o'clock on IdahoSports.com. These teams are no strangers to each other. They've played each other in the season opener the past 2 seasons, with Grace winning both times. Do we think it's 3 in a row for the Grizzlies?
I think so. Grace is just a really, really tough team. They showed that last year, and this is a tough. This division, I think, is always just tough at the end. But I do like Grace. They're just that team that quietly wins games and makes it to state championships.
They are. I mean, they did. They got to the championship last year for sure. So Grace, the last 2 times they've played Cary, they met in the season opener a year ago and won 7-0. That was the final. And they scored off of a turnover. And then this year they won 36-0. And Cary, of course, lost a lot from last year's team, while Grace brings back some pretty talented players like the Cleggs, Joe and Kai Clegg, and Braden Kimball and Cutler. And so anyways, yeah, I like Grace in this first round matchup for sure. 1A D2, Sean. Holy mackerel. Did you see how this conference finally shook out?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. So Rockland is your league champ. Well earned. They beat North Gem last week, so they get a first round bye. There was one other bid to the playoffs available from the Rocky Mountain Conference, and it came down to a 3-way tie for second place between North Gem, Water Springs, and Mackey, and they had all beaten each other. North Gem beat Mackey, Mackey beat Water Springs beat North Gem. So from there, the criteria is point differential.
Okay.
Amongst with a maximum of 20. So everybody lost to Rockland by 20 plus. So that was thrown out. So really it came, and they all beat Clark County by 20 plus. So really it all came down to the point differential amongst the 3 teams. Well, Water Springs ended up at -2. North Gem ended up at 0. And Mackey ended up winning the tiebreaker on the point differential. Mackey came into this game with Water Springs needing to win by 7 or more to win the tiebreaker on the differential, and they won by 8.
Did they know that going into the game?
If they read my bracketology article,
okay.
They did.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure they were aware of that coming in. And so way to go, Mackey Miners, qualifying for the playoffs. They have to travel to Hagerman for the opening round. This will be on Friday. I know that says
to be announced.
Yeah, that's not correct. Let's see if we can get that fixed here. Let me refresh that bracket. No, still says TBD. Okay. Anyways, they're going to play Friday at 7 o'clock on what should be a pretty good non-conference first round matchup. Hagerman's a new team to the playoffs this year. So is Mackey. So no matter who it is, the winner will get their first win in the playoffs in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's just exciting for both teams. Really exciting for Mackey. When Mackey, it's hard not to root for the Miners.
Yeah, no,
it's just, they don't get a lot of fanfare. It's not like big glamour, but congrats to them for making it, and hopefully they can come away with a win.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see all these football teams compete in the opening round of the postseason. And again, IdahoSports.com will be broadcasting 17 first round playoff matchups. If you want to see the full schedule of what we're covering, you can click on the game streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. But you're going to want to be checking back to IdahoSports.com because we're going to be having updated brackets and scores, not just for football, but volleyball as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a good time, Sean.
Cross country recaps and all that. And will we have a Thursday night flash?
Yeah, we probably will. Yeah, why not? There's like 4 games.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty good. So yeah, and the Friday night flash this Friday will be highly watching, right? Everyone will be watching. I'll be checking in at the game to see if we got some other scores from the bracket. So the Friday night flash on IdahoSports.com is money, but
yes.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, for sure. So the playoffs are upon us for football, state championships wrapping up, and all the other fall sports. We'll be back to break it all down again for you next week on another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. For Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.